This is absolutely wonderful. So you can see that he was looking at where the opponent's coming from. He came from this angle. They're coming from this angle. So where does he position himself? He can position himself over here. But then that's exactly in the direction the opponent is running in. He can also position himself here. But that's really easy for him to get caught too, because if somebody TPs here or buys back TPs here, they're going to be able to catch him. So where does he go? He actually goes down the hill, which is not a normal place to go, but it makes a whole lot of sense because now his allies can be up here and they can have the first contact on the opponent up on this hill while he's on the low ground. And if the opponent needs to get to him, they need to run through all these allies to get to him down here. And even if they buy back, where are they going to buy back to? They're going to have to TP to this tower. So it's actually the furthest point from the opponent. And he's just chilling down here, waiting for his allies to get jumped. He can either decrepify his ogre, save him, or he can decrepify the opponent, force the Ursa to pop his BKB and rage, whatever it may be. And he's just getting himself a really good position. Also, he's got this nice nether ward down that he planted earlier, and if the opponent casts spells, they're going to be taking damage. Their mana is also getting drained up.
If you like our content, please do like and subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to click the notification button below so you will be notified when a new video will be released.
Alright guys, now we got Topson playing Mig Pugna, a little bit different. Starting build, he's got double circlets, mantle, a lot more stats. He's not going for that early rush of the bottle. He does buy the fairy fire. This gives him more right click damage, and that will allow him to secure more last hits in the lane. And here he sees an Ursa actually going for the rune and getting very low. He just snags the kill. It's not even first blood, just 140 gold. That's okay. He's alright. So let's see here. Level 1, he's gonna skill actually Nether Blast up in the mid lane here. Most of the time we see mid heroes, mid players skill up the Decrepify. In this game he actually chooses to go for the Nether Blast. He wants to use that blast to secure the range creep while also doing damage to the Ember Spirit. Or if the Ember uses Flame Guard, you can also just remove the Flame Guard with one level in Blast. So the Ember goes in, while getting the last hit, he's also harassing the Ember. And he doesn't have a high ground ward here, which is okay. Topson really likes his wards that stop the opponent from ganking him in the mid lane instead. And right now he actually has to give up this range creep. He feels a little bit sad about that. The opponent tries to slide a fist dodge the Nether Blast here. He's actually doing a really good job on the Ember Spirit, laning up into Topson. Imagine it's a very high ranking player too. Yep, 150 EU rank, pretty good. Now he uses the Decrepify, makes sure that the opponent can't get the range, but he also loses the range. So Topson not doing too hot in this Pugna game at the moment. Not the same level of focus that we normally see him playing from his matches, but that's normal, you know. Sometimes when you're very fatigued from all the games that you play competitively, you don't got all the focus in your game. But right now, you can see he's just trying to harass up the Ember every time he walks up into the lane. And whenever he needs to go for the last hits, he'll just use the blast if he can't actually secure it with the right click, because the right click was already loaded and hit the Ember. Because, you know, there is a attack animation and how many hits you can get in within a second. So here you can see just constantly staying on the outside of the Flame Guard area and just right clicking the Ember. This Ember already having to use a healing salve at this stage in the game. So he bought a null first on the Pugna, didn't go for the bottle. He wanted to have that extra mana regen spell amp for his lane already. Just gonna tango up here. Now he's gonna have enough gold for the bottle. So once he does get the bottle, by 4 minutes, he's gonna be able to get that refill on the rune, if he can actually get the rune. And that's his plan here, right? He didn't want to get the bottle too early in this lane. He's very confident that he will get the bottle before 4 minutes anyway and be able to use up all those charges. And that's why he went for the null. Sometimes if you feel like you're not going to get your bottle in time because you're losing your lane or you're having too much of a difficult time, maybe you need a healing salve early on, you can just not upgrade your null talisman. You can just leave it at the circlet and the mantle, then just buy a healing salve and then buy a bottle, and then you're still going to have a bottle. You're going to guarantee that before the 4 minute, because you're going to want to bottle up that rune so you can use it freely whenever you want to. And you can see every time the opponent just walks up for a last hit, and he can just either decrepify them or hit them, and if he's not going to get the last hit, he's just going to try to blast the Ember because the Ember is going to try to deny those creeps after all. So here, the Tiny actually died. TP's mid, refills his bottle. Really good play from his Tiny. And he's just using a lot of damage onto this Ember, just decrepifying him, blasting him, pushing the lane in. And he's doing this because the rune is about to spawn, right? So he wants to shove that lane out so he can get the rune. And the Ember Spirit actually mans up onto him here. He's got one more blast and he's gonna get that kill onto the Ember, because the Tiny was here to help him, and he's gonna get the top rune. Perfect, absolutely perfect. So 330 wave, he actually started blasting it out mid really quickly so he can get easy access to the rune. And if the Ember wants to contest him, the Ember has to run in to the Pugna, and it's gonna take a lot of damage. But at the same time, the Ember is also going to be losing a creep wave, because the wave is going to be shoved into his tower, and the tower is going to get all those lasts, all that. And if you're going to go to the rune as well, you're going to lose so much XP, because you're going to be out of the XP range. But here the Ember actually revives, runs back at him, and he's probably dead here. He decrepified himself. But, you know, that Flame Guard damage is a little too much. Oh, the Ogre and the Jukes, and he actually gets a kill instead. My goodness. What a play. He wasn't actually at level 6, and now he gets level 6 from that too. Is gonna go on up here, pick up the bounty rune, and bottles up. You know, this is Topson's best friend, Bottle. He loves this item. That was really impressive, and calls his allies to come in and help him, and they do. Jukes the Ember just long enough to be able to get that kill onto the Ember. So, and now with the Catapult, so this is a very important thing, right? When you're playing a hero like Pugna, you need to have a lot of impact in the early game to like take objectives or apply pressure onto towers, because this hero's strength is a lot of it coming from the early game, and he's really good like super late game, like once the BKBs are low cooldown and such. But right now he's really strong. He's got that Decrepify into Life Drain, and he's also got that Nether Blast on towers, and he can always sustain himself with the spell. That being said, the first 5-minute Catapult, you want to shove that lane out really quickly so you can do a lot of tower damage. So here, 6 minutes, he just pushes the lane out, and he's kind of looking for the rune, but the rune is bottom, and he knows the Ember probably took that because it's fog area too, and he doesn't want to go in there and run into like a hasted Ember or DD Ember or something that might actually hurt him too much. So he's just gonna forget about that for now, but he has a Catapult here, and he can use his Catapult to apply pressure. And when you're a Pugna, you're gonna want to ask your teammates to also come mid to actually support you take this tower, because if they actually run into you, try to stop this Catapult from doing tower damage, then you can just turn around and fight your opponent, because you're really strong as a Pugna right now. So he peeks bottom, and he actually finds the Dark Willow and the Ember here. And now he's got that Ogre, because he did ask him to come on over to help him with the pressure on the tower. And you can see this tower, it's already down to 500 HP. It's just 6 minutes in the game. And this is all from that lane shoving that the Topson done. All the chip damage has pretty much added up to this tower being down to 500 health. So we saw in the previous Tiny game from Topson, his allies rotated mid and killed the tower early. And this game as well, he did a lot of damage to his tower. Topson, really good player at applying all this chip damage to the enemy tower. And you can see his first 2 items were the Null Talismans, and then now he went for the boots. The Null Talismans with the Spell Lamp is really, really good for this hero. And he also gets some very nice mana regen. It's got 5.1 at this stage in the game. And when you're playing against melee laners or any melee laners, as a Pugna, you just wanna like decrepify them and life drain, because you either get your HP back, or if you have full HP, you actually start draining mana. Like you get mana. Either way, it's really good. And you can see here he just went for the small camp. So you could ask like, hey, why didn't Topson actually go mid with that last creep wave and do tower damage? There's a very good reason why. One, he doesn't have full HP, so he is not at his full capabilities. Second, if the enemy TP's mid, or there's a Dark Willow coming in from the fog on the right side here, and Topson is out of position over here, the Ember can just commit into this kill. The Ember is level 6, so he does a lot of damage. He does a lot of magic damage, especially with the triple remnants. He doesn't want to put himself out of position and die, even if this tower is low, right? That low HP tower is not worth him dying and giving all that XP and gold to the enemy mid laner. So he's just gonna calm down, you know, farm up some jungle camps, wait for the better opportunity. Maybe he gets a rune, he refills to full, or maybe he gets a life drain off, gets full HP first. But at some point, he wants to see heroes on the map before he makes his play on this mid tower, especially at nighttime, because it's quite scary. His ward's on the left side, so this right side area, it's all black map, and he doesn't want to feed here. And as I say that, even if he wasn't here doing tower damage, he's actually getting dove on the mid lane coming from the right side anyway. And at this stage, the opponent is just too strong. I can't imagine him just surviving this here. And oh, he's so close, but he ends up at least killing the Ember before he dies. But he still does die in the end anyway. So although he was playing absolutely perfectly and did everything he possibly can, the best case scenario was he traded his life for the Ember. That's how scary that situation was, and Topson really understood that. So here he revives, he sees that Ursa is going on his Wind Ranger top, wants to go up here, maybe make a counterplay. Enchantress is getting quite low, but he didn't wait for the Decrepify. He should have actually waited for the Decrep before he used the life drain. And now the Ursa is just going to get Decrept off and Nether Blasted. And you can see here, he's just maxing out his first two skills, because this is like your main source of damage and save. The early game Nether Ward doesn't really do a whole lot. So he pushes top out, the creeps, and then he just runs back towards the mid area. He knows the mid tower is a bit lower. He can stay top and do tower damage here too if he wants to. That is a possibility. But he just wants to see if there's any stacks, and then Tiny's like, hey bro, there's like a big ass stack here, can you come kill it? Then Topson's like, yeah, sure, why not? There's a lot of farm. He's level 9 now. And you can see here, he's not doing a whole lot of fancy stuff. Most of his actions in this game have been related either to the rune or just like trying to make sure that he stays alive, right? He's just playing more for his own farm, his XP, because he knows the higher level he is, the easier it's going to be for him to be able to kill his opponent. But here, this Tarquillo stood no chance and just going to secure this tower. And what does he do after that? He goes to the bounty rune, picks that up. Rune spawn bottom again. He knows Ember probably got that. He's just gonna let that go. And now he sees a Mars top who TP'd in. And the Mars, because he TP'd, he's not gonna be able to TP out from him. And that's the only way to save yourself from the Pugna, is if you TP out. And he's just gonna try to make a play onto this Mars. And they get a kill on the Mars. But Topson is a little bit out of position because of that toss from the Tiny. So Tiny actually ended up getting him killed in the end. I don't think he's very happy about that. So this game, he actually went for Tranquil Boots. You don't really need to go Tranquil Boots on this hero. I think Power Treads is really good. So you got that tread switching ability. You get more HP. And you can get bursted far less. And what happened to his Arcane Boots was he split it for the Aether Lens, which gives him a cast range. The best possible thing you can have for Pugna, actually. Cast range. So here it goes back to the mid, helps his allies fight around here, go for the tower, get stunned up, but just gonna retreat on back and just blast his tower. And you can see there's a lot of damage that gets dished out by Pugna. Like, this hero is insane on his damage output, and people really underestimate that. I'm very surprised that there's not a whole lot of Pugna spammers, but then again, you know, the hero is not that fancy, right? You know, he doesn't look that cool or something like that. But the way that he's played and how much damage he deals is absolutely incredible, as we can see in this game. So the Ember goes in, he decrypifies the Ember, and he's just getting absolutely chased down from the Enchantress with the slow. They really want to kill him, but he's so annoying. Like, he just decrypifies himself, tries to run away, buys so much time. But there's only 2 guys here, so it's just too easy for them to kill him here. And he just kind of like stuck around mid too long. At this point in the game, it might have been better for Topson to already go back towards the bottom area and play for the last tier 1 bottom. But, you know, he stuck around mid, he wanted to shove that lane out, and he put himself out of position and ended up dying to the opponent. But while they're doing that, his allies are getting a lot of space and a lot of free farm on the map because they're not focusing his allies. So actually wants to go for Ag's next item. TP's top first, pushes the Mars out of the lane, so that gives PL a free lane top. And he just kind of wants to play with some of his disables, and in this game that would be the Ogre Magi or even the Tiny. But he's just gonna die here once again. At this point in the game, like, he's kind of just playing with his supports and trying to make some space. I wouldn't consider like him dying like this to be okay, to be fair. But he's just trying to experiment and see what his limits are. And sometimes in pug games, if you're like Topson, you're gonna get focused so much. I mean, you're a 2-time TI winner after all. Like some of these guys just wanna get a kill. Imagine if you can kill Topson 1 time in your lifetime. You're gonna be quite happy, I would imagine. So here the opponent Cat actually wants to go on him, and there's not a whole lot he can do. Alright. I'm just gonna fast forward some of this until we see some actual gameplay after this, because at this point they're just kind of always targeting him because of how important his hero actually is, and there's not a whole lot that his team is doing to support him at the moment. So this is where, okay, so after this fight, I think they've had enough. They're like, guys, we're not fighting properly, let's just try to go together in one area of the map. So they revive, they go middle. You can see the Ogre also TPing mid with some wards and sentries. Pio has Manta now, he feels quite strong. And then they're just gonna run towards the mid area of the map. They see a Mars, they instantly decrepify, life drain him. The stun toss combo came a little bit too early before the decrepify, or else that Mars might have actually just been straight bursted, even if he had a hood. And you can see Topson, he's kind of like playing behind his allies now. As a Pugna, you don't want to be in the front lines. You kind of want to be playing behind your other cores or your supports. And you just kind of let them lead and go in for you. Because that way you can stay in the back, cast your spells. You can blast the opponent, or you can decrepify your allies, save them, life drain, give them HP, or, you know, do damage to your opponent. Either way, it's really good. And just like that, as soon as they were able to group up as 5, they just managed to kill 4 of their opponents. Now I take the tier 2. As a Pugna, you just want to do that before 20 minutes if possible, and get that outpost. And you can kind of just fight over the outpost at this point. That is a really good place to fight around, because you can get some nice vision there. And there, he's actually pinging it out. You can see at this point, I'm going to go to Topson's player perspective right now. And you can see, like, he actually pings out the outpost at this point. He says, guys, it's like 19-20 in the game. We can go to the outpost if the opponent wants to fight. We can fight around this area. I got level 3 ward. He drops a ward instantly at the start of the fight. Blasted that Enchantress. Enchantress is dead, and they're going to take the outpost back. Now the opponent is not going to get any XP. He's watching mid, seeing what they're going to do. They're actually running into this outpost area, and he pings that out, and he instantly finds himself the best possible position, because he knows. So this is very interesting, okay? This is absolutely wonderful. So you can see that he was looking at where the opponent's coming from. He came from this angle. They're coming from this angle. So where does he position himself? He can position himself over here. But then that's exactly in the direction the opponent is running in. He can also position himself here. But that's really easy for him to get caught too, because if somebody TPs here or buys back TPs here, they're going to be able to catch him. So where does he go? He actually goes down the hill, which is not a normal place to go, but it makes a whole lot of sense, because now his allies can be up here and they can have the first contact on the opponent up on this hill while he's on the low ground. And if the opponent needs to get to him, they need to run through all these allies to get to him down here. And even if they buy back, where are they going to buy back to? They're going to have to TP to this tower. So it's actually the furthest point from the opponent. And he's just chilling down here, waiting for his allies to get jumped. He can either decrepify his Ogre, save him, or he can decrepify the opponent, force the Ursa to pop his BKB and rage, whatever it may be. And he's just getting himself a really good position. Also, he's got this nice nether ward down that he planted earlier, and if the opponent casts spells, they're going to be taking damage. Their mana is also getting drained out. And this Ember, what he's looking for is 100% this Pugna, because they need to kill the Pugna. If they don't kill the Pugna, they are absolutely screwed in this fight. So you can see here, still staying on the outskirts of the fight. Gonna decrepify this guy. And because they don't focus the Pugna, he's just dishing out so much damage. It's just unbelievable. But a huge mistake, in my opinion, on the Ember and the Ursa to not actually go straight into the Pugna in this engagement. So maybe a little bit overzealous here, going for that Enchantress. Gets purged up and actually killed by the support. Also, the Ember Chain's doing a hell of a lot of damage. But he's just watching the fight. Revives. Keep his mid. So at this point, he's just waiting for his allies to revive before they make have more engagements. So fast forward a little bit. sometimes, you know, Topson's like an artist, you know. Not every time, especially in his pubs, he's oftentimes doing a lot of experimental things. But when you've already won 2 TIs, I think it's okay to be able to do that. Alright, so let's go back. This is going to be a really interesting engagement, okay? So we're going to go back to his player perspective. So here the tiny dies. And then look at his perspective. He sees the edge and he's taking the high ground in this position, right? He's telling his team, guys, play here. Play on this ward right now. He can see the pings. He's pinging this ward. He's like, guys, play here. If they walk up this high ground, we can fight. As soon as he sees the edge up the high ground, he drops that nether ward instantaneously. Now, because they have the vision in this fight, he can position himself the best way that he can. And he can go on the correct targets. So he decrypifies the Mars, life drains him, wants to do as much damage as he can, and the opponent is trying to run away because the opponent does not have vision up this hill. But even though this was a 4 versus 5 fight, they were able to win because they played under his vision, and he's the one who made that call. Guys, play under the vision here. And on top of that, there's another word in the engagement, so the opponent has to spend some time hitting that as well, so they can't instantly focus his allies or him as well because of it. Now he's got that arcane rune. This is a pretty sick, nasty rune for Pugna. He's not going to use it right away. He wants to use it in the engagement. So he can cast the Decrypifies faster. He can cast Ultimate, or sorry, Nether Blast faster. He's already got Ag, so he's got infinite life drains anyway. No cooldown on that. But it'll make his life drain cost less mana, which is quite nice. So now he pops the Arcane Rune because he sees the opponent are surrounding this tower to try and defend it. And look at his positioning. He sees the opponents coming from the left side, so he's playing all the way on the right here. He bought himself a Glimmer Cape to stay alive against the Ember and the Ursa. But the Ember, really smart player, obviously, gonna buy a Dusk, and that kind of catches Topson off guard here, and he dies because of it. So now he's going for a Blink Dagger. So what it's going to do is Blink is if he ever sees that Ember Spirit like drop anywhere near him, he's just going to Blink instantly out. This Blink is actually just to help him reposition in the team fights mainly. I wouldn't say it's like a super aggressive Blink, because if he blinks in aggressively, he's going to be in a lot of danger. They will be able to buy back, take fights or whatever. But it's mainly queued up for that repositioning in the engagement, so that he will not get caught. So look at this fight once again. Playing around the vision, their vision. He life drains. He's trying to save the tiny, but he notices the 2 BKBs comes out and he instantly runs away. He knows that they're going on the tiny, but their main focus is always going to be him. So unless they're hard committing to one of his allies, like really hard committing, he's not going to try to go in. And you can see how he's constantly casting Glimmer Cape, walking in and out, waiting to see if they're actually 1000% committed to one of his allies before he starts casting spells. And you know, because if he life drains, he's sitting there. He's a sitting duck at that point, right? So you can see, he's not actually casting any spells at the moment. He's constantly running back and forth, waiting for those BKBs to run out. And then he turns around because he sees the Ursa running away, and now he can go back into the engagement. Because the opponent was not able to catch Topson, they were not able to get the Pugna, because he's like constantly just weaving in and out of the fight without actually casting any spells. They were confused as to who they can commit to, because they know this Decrypify is going to come out if they hard commit onto somebody else. So there's a lot like that goes on in these small engagements that, you know, make them have so much impact. Can you imagine that you can have so much impact by literally doing nothing, right? Just keeping yourself alive. And that's what's actually going on here. In high-level Dota gameplay, this is a very important thing that a lot of people don't understand. That sometimes you don't have to do anything, you just have to be able to stay alive. And if your opponent messes up and goes for the wrong target, that's the time you come in and you save the day, essentially, by casting your spells. So here he heals his allies, goes back to the creep camp, life drains, gets back to full HP, and just like that, all his teammates are quite healthy. And they're just gonna be able to take the racks. And he's like the facilitator in this game, right? He's just there letting his cores do all the stuff, letting them do all the tower damage, chilling in the back, playing like a utility hero, healing his allies up, keeping them healthy, and not letting the opponent jump him. So here he puts another ward on the top of the hill, sees the ward, kills that off, chilling in the high ground here where they have a lot of vision. Now he takes the telescope too. So it's got a bunch of cast range at this point in the game, which is crazy nice for a hero like Pugna. and he's got that blink dagger available.
Dire's middle tower is under attack. Dire's structures are fortified.
And this is what Topson's really good at doing. Like, his positioning is absolutely amazing. He always knows how the opponent can kill him, where they're gonna come from, especially in proper engagements. In 5v5, like his Topson's 5v5ing teamfight capability is amazing, like second to none. That was a very solid game from Topson. I mean, the things that we learned in this game is one, positioning, right? Like the most key thing. We literally watched Topson do absolutely nothing for like 10 seconds in a 5v5 engagement. He had his spells up, but he didn't use them. Why? Because he doesn't want to expose himself in the team fight. Because he knows if he exposes himself in the team fight, they're going to jump him instantly because they're not committing to anybody else on this team. But when the opponent did commit to somebody else on the team, that's the time he committed to the fight as well. Once he saw all the stuns being used, and he started to either save his allies or, you know, disarm his opponent and kill them or stop them from killing his allies, which was really good. And Pugna is the kind of hero where you're not hard carrying a game because you're constantly killing everyone. You're actually keeping everybody alive, and because you're keeping everybody alive, your team has like pretty much infinite source of damage. And we saw how he was able to take the tier 1 towers quite easily, the tier 2 tower before 20 minutes, got the outpost, and continued to play around objectives. I don't know if you caught this earlier, but how do you know when decrepping the enemy and life draining is better than not decrepping during team fights? You gotta decrep the guy who does a lot of physical damage, and also the guy who is not gonna be focused, right? That's how you have to see it. If your PA is daggering a hero, then don't decrep that dude. There's literally no reason. Probably the PA wants to jump onto that hero. But if the PA is not jumping that hero, wants to jump like some squishy supports, then you can decrep the other hero that you want to go on. And if your opponent has a lot of physical damage and they have like BKBs or Manta that can remove the decrepify, then you might want to save your decrepify to use it defensively when they jump one of your allies instead. So you can waste that BKB timing of your opponent. Essentially, that's how I see it. Like, it's just a matter of understanding in the team fight. And you're going to get that with some experience, definitely.